Come on. This is January the 27th. It is 8:55. See? See the time? Yeah. I want to say thanks to his hands for listening to our radios, and I want to say I love y'all, and happy 2026, and Katie got something she wants to say. Hey, you need to subscribe to our channel. If you don't, I'm gonna go get you. I'm gonna go get you. Subscribe to our channel. With the camera. Subscribe. Shit. Alright, Queen. Subscribe to the channel. Alright, Queen. She ain't playing either. Catch y'all next time.
Hours there. It's also really slow right now. We are in northbound on 405. Just got to install it towards 405 northbound before western. It's in the number 2 lane, touch to the left, and that's right. Exactly an hour on the 405 north from Long Beach up to the 10.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I end her lunch. Ravioli, piece of a fish called burger, and this. What am I gonna do?
Why? Something that the idiots who run Los Angeles, Karen Bass and the city council, can't seem to do anything about. Copper thieves. They steal the copper wiring from about a dozen public streetlights, 3 city blocks, and the whole neighborhood's in the And one of the homeowners, David Barlag, added, we have car thefts, we have break-ins, it just feels dangerous. And I asked David and everybody else in Hancock Park, well, who have you been voting for? I know who you've been voting for. I look at the voting patterns, after a big election. Who do you vote for? Oh, are you surprised? They allow thieves to steal all the copper. Have you ever heard of this before the last few years? Wait till you tell you how much copper wiring they've stolen. You're not going to believe this. Now, you could call the Public Works Department. I always see this in the neighborhood app. Some Karen type goes, well, you know what you could do is you could call 311 and you report it to the Public Works Department. Yeah, okay. 9-month timeline for repairs. And repair times are going to be delayed worse than that because looters cleaned out a city storage yard which had the replacement wire. A large amount of replacement copper wire was stolen from the storage yard. So there's no replacement wire to replace the stolen wire. The actual warehouse that has all the cables and wires we need to fix the lights was broken into. All that was stolen, said Sixto Cecilia of the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council. So they're looking at a year or more before they can turn on the lights. So people are spending their own money in the neighborhood to attach solar power lamps to the disabled light posts. Yeah. Well, I saw a version of this the other day where some person was saying, I want to thank all the people who joined me as we picked up the trash together. Let's clean up LA together. And I'm saying, that's great. That's wonderful. But You already paid a tremendous amount of tax money, and Karen Bass and your city council person ought to be cleaning up the garbage. Same thing here. So now people are buying their own solar-powered lights because Bass and the idiots in the city council can't stop the thieves. You know how much they've stolen? Get ready for this. In 2018, 8 years ago, the city had 14,000 electronic streetlight service requests. 14,000. In 2024, 46,000. And Cecilia said neighbors are being burglarized quite often.
Check this out. Check it out. Check it out. Something to pass the time. Teddy. Mm-hmm.
the 39MT starter. So, typically, positive 12 goes here, and then from here, power gets distributed to the truck. We saw that in the Brockway of how it's wired. This typically is your negative. The case is not grounded in anywhere to the case, to the snout, to the block, or the transmission bell housing, however it's placed. This has to be wired direct to the battery. This has to be wired direct to the battery. In order for the solenoid to function, it must be grounded to the battery.
Remember, grounded meaning grounded to the truck's frame. That doesn't mean that that's negative or positive. From what I read, the starter, I'm not the smartest when it comes to electricity and starters. Some people are smarter than me. I can explain that to you. But the starter, regardless of the polarity, should spin in the same direction. It has to do with the way the starter is built, the motor, the armature, the field, and all that and whatnot. So, in other words, I think the way it works is when you put power to it, regardless of the direction, it energizes the magnets in opposition of the armature. Or maybe, I'm not 100%, but that kind of makes sense. In other words, the opposition makes it spin. As long as it's in opposition, it functions. The way I've always understood motors, reverse the polarity, it spins the other direction. But that's a different set of wiring for motors. So, again, somebody smarter than me can probably figure that out. But 39MT, the ground has to be set to the battery. It is not case grounded like an alternator. So that's what I wanted to show you is when it came to the starter.
Now, typically, if you go way back to Orwell, over there, way back in the videos when Orwell had a catastrophic power loss that killed everything, it was in the wire that goes from your positive. Remember, your batteries are back here somewhere, right? So batteries go to here. That way it's a big, thick cable the size of your thumb that powers all of this. You don't need that big a cable to power your cab. So a smaller wire comes from here up to your cab to power it.
And that's where Orwell died years ago. Way to go, I'm not sure. So I've been doing some wire chasing, and a 4-wire alternator, from everything I'm looking, has a voltage regulator. But where? Haven't found it. Well, I have now. You'll never guess where, in fact, this thing is. But now look here, negative, positive, field, right there. And then there's
relay right here. So I'm wondering if that's not what Wayne was talking about polarizing it. But what works and what don't. Notice on the top it says voltage adjust. You can adjust the amount of voltage. So what do I do here? Do I replace the alternator with a more modern one and just run like a one wire, like a one with a voltage regulator in there, separate voltage regulator? I don't know. It's like, what's the best way to do this here? I'm not sure.
This is dinner for tonight. Take a guess what it is. Yeah, okay, I got down Holly. I got you.